The great divide is here, and I've been trying to share this with people in detail since 2020. Now, of course, it's just my opinion. You should always do your own research. That's what I'm encouraging you to do, is to empower yourself to understand this. So I'm going to share what I believe the great divide is, my opinion, but I'm also going to share with you some math to keep it simple and to keep the emotion out of it, because your emotions are their profits. So Trump is decentralizing the financial system, hence World Liberty Financial. He has USD1, the fastest growing stablecoin in history, through World Liberty Financial. World Liberty Financial is their token connected to their DeFi, decentralized finance platform, where you're in the driver's seat, you have the governance, and you actually run the bank. And then you have this, where Christine Lagarde is encouraging, if things are speeding up, and I'll tell you why. She's like, we need to move fast to create a digital euro. Well, I showed you guys how Russia confirmed exactly what I've been saying, how America is creating a stable coin, balancing out the US monetary system through stable coins. USD1, Trump stablecoin, the fastest growing stablecoin. Bohine steps down, goes over to Tether. They just announced he's a CEO now of American Tether. Cantor, Howard Lutnick's company, is the custodian for the US Tether. Well, why is that important? Because stablecoins use what? US Treasuries, short-term bonds to balance out the markets. That not only stabilizes US market, but also makes bonds very, very, very attractive. Now you have the great divide in between left and right politically. You have the great divide financially between decentralization and centralization. You have the great divide spiritually happening right now. So here's, from the financial perspective, how I've managed this. I take the emotion completely out of it on the financial space. I heard an awesome video on Instagram where a guy did this speech, and he said, if a $20 was sitting on the table, please listen to this all the way through. Let me ask you a question. Does a $20 give a flying shit about you? Does it have emotion? No. Does it even know it's $20? No. It's just a piece of paper sitting on a table. I would pick it up and I would invest it in something that would create cash flow, or that would beat a 2% inflation, which is not 2%. It's way more than 2%. They just tell you it's 2%, because it's all about hurdle rates. Another man's debt is another man's assets. Another man's assets, another man's debt. There's no real money in the system. It's only debt. It's fiat. It's fake currency. So I'd take that fake currency and I'd put it into something that would beat the hurdle rate. That's the math I'm going to give you in just a moment. Another person will pick up that $20 and they might go to a strip club. They might buy alcohol. They might buy drugs with it. Shit, I've lived both sides of this coin, if you know my story. So I really know this at a deep level. But the $20 doesn't give a flying shit about you. It doesn't care if you eat. It doesn't care if you starve. It doesn't care if you're rich. It doesn't care if you're poor. You give it power. You gave it energy. That's the trick. And I believe in God. God is good all the time. And God created all of this. And there's a mathematical formula to this. It is absolutely beautiful how this works. Let's take the emotion out. Money compounds every 7 years at 10%. Einstein, eighth wonder of the world. So if money compounds every 7 years at 10%, then your job is to what? Make sure you're growing your money 10% every 7 years or above. But here's the caveat. You go to school, you get a job, you trade time for money, and you trust somebody else by putting it into a 401k or some financial advisor, and you hope that they're going to beat inflation. Or you don't even know that. You don't even think about that. Like, well, I grew your money 4 to 6%. You're doing fantastic. But what about inflation? 2%? It's not 2%. Your purchasing power of your dollar went down 19% since 2020 to 2024. So you think you're growing your 401k 4 to 6%, but your purchasing power, if you were to exit at retirement into dollars to try to live, to buy groceries, your purchasing power went down 19%. So no, you're not growing your portfolio. You have to understand the math. So what I started to do is, I'm not the smartest cat in the world. I actually have severe dyslexia, but I'm a very disciplined person that has a plan. So I started looking at the math, because an idiot with a plan is better than a genius with no plan. Trust me on this. I'm like, this is pretty simple. There's this asset class using logic, not emotion, Bitcoin, that's growing 50% every single year. There's a technology that I understand at a deep level called XRP that I believe is going to be here because the system has to change. And I decided to take some risk. So I started transmuting my US dollars, which is inflationary, where I became poorer every single year because I didn't want to be in a position like I was in COVID, where they shut my business down and took away my ability to take care of my family. And I decided to transmute my wealth into deflationary assets that had fixed supplies. So I beat the math. Money compounds every 7 years at 10%. Well, we compounded our XRP 800% from 2020 to 2024 when Trump got elected, and our Bitcoin grew about 200%. So as people lost 19% purchasing power, I grew my money by 800% on the XRP side and 200% on the Bitcoin side. There's no emotion in that. Remember, the $20 has no emotion. I took the 20 and I put it into deflationary assets. There's no emotion in that. I'm not better than anybody else. I just made a different decision than someone else. Somebody else put their $20 towards a payment for a car that they can't afford to impress people they don't like. There's no emotion. Nobody's better, nobody's greater. It's just what we decide to do with it. So now you have the great divide financially. You have a system that's working to stay centralized and a system that's working to go decentralized. Now we're going into a decentralized system where I can just transmute with you with money. I don't have to go through the central banks. We can transfer in Bitcoin, XRP. Everybody's going to have a stable coin. And so take out investing in crypto and getting rich quick and ask yourself, how are you going to beat inflation? So here's how I do it. I take my cash, which is trash. I get paid in cash. And I took my last bull run, 2020 to 2022, and I didn't buy Lambos, Ferraris. I didn't increase my lifestyle. I bought businesses that create cash flow, dividends that create cash flow, and I stuffed money into cash value life insurance. So here's how I did it. So I create cash flow. That's my number one thing when I get paid. So I have businesses that create cash flow that give me cash. I take that cash and I put it into number two, deflationary assets that have fixed supply. Hence XRP and Bitcoin. Those are two examples. They have fixed supplies that are opposite the US dollar. No more can be printed. Okay, so now I'm appreciating on this side and crushing inflation. Now I'm also, with my cash flow, I'm buying more cash flow. I'm buying cash generating dividends. So I own my own business to create cash flow, but I put my money in dividends that create cash that I don't have to do anything that's passive. Now when I get paid monthly off those, I have one coming in Friday. I'm a dividend stock, and what that dividend stock, when it comes in, what do? I don't store it in cash. I transmute it after paying my taxes. I put it into Bitcoin and XRP, a deflationary asset. So you see now, I'm actually taking cash, which is inflationary, which are going to come pour every single year. They're about to lower interest rates and print more money. And I'm putting into deflationary assets that grow over time, no emotion. When I profit in those deflationary assets, I take profits and I stuff it into number three, which is protection and cash value life insurance. Now there's a whole other component to this that people don't understand, or maybe they do, and I'll explain to you what I do. That's disrespectful. So what I do is I'm going to be profiting heavily on the back end of this year with my digital assets, and number two, crushing inflation. I'm going to stuff and max fund my policies. That creates number four, which in 2026, I'm going to have a Bitcoin bank, which I've already used, and I've given examples of that. And I'll have a insurance bank. So remember hurdle rates and beating inflation? So now I've taken cash flow into deflationary assets that profited, so I multiplied my money. Then I took the appreciation, I put it into insurance. Now I can triple my money. So then what I'll do in the bear market, when you're running from crypto, I'm going to be buying your crypto. So when you're panicking, I've already pulled profits on the way up. You're panic selling, and I believe in these assets. I'll borrow against the cash value of my life insurance at 5%. Remember hurdle rates? And I'll buy more digital assets, and I'll hold in 2026, 2027, 2028. We hit the bull market, goes up. I pay off the leverage. I stuff more cash value in. We repeat the process. It's just math, guys. There's no emotion. Stop following riddlers and dates and hoping XRP will go to this thing, and understand the system. Create a system. Be disciplined. Stuff money in the system and go touch grass and be with your family. God, family, protect your ecosystem at all costs. Out other men's business, you're too busy working on yours. Remember, an idiot with a system will do much better than a genius with no system. Warriors, rise! Get your shit together. It's here.